So welcome to Barrington's webinar series focusing on new science and information to help you create cutting-edge formulations. Today we are happy to host our friends at Sibelius Health Products. We've got Dr. Jessica Serra. She is a scientific project manager at Sibelius. And we've got Chris Mealy. He is the head of business development. Just to let you guys know that everyone is muted on this webinar, except for the presenters. So please type your questions into the Q&A module at the bottom. The button is located near the bottom middle of the screen. If you move your cursor, a little toolbar should pop up. So just type your questions in there and we will answer them at the conclusion of the presentation. We will be recording today's webinar and posting it to the hub section of the BarringtonNutritionals.com website. On the hub, you will find past webinar recordings along with the slide decks, white papers, spec sheets, and other important information. Feel free to share this information with your colleagues, and please reach out to your Barrington rep if you have any questions. So again, thank you for joining us, Jessica and Chris, and I will let you have the floor.
Thank you for the invite. Hello, everyone.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everybody, and welcome to our talk on LactoMato. So thank you for your time today. I hope you find this presentation of interest. And as Chris said, please do not hesitate to ask any questions at the end. Next slide. Oh, sorry, Jessica, can you skip?
Yes, I'm doing it.
Okay, sorry about that. So lycopene is a bright red carotenoid that is found predominantly in the skin of tomatoes, but also some other red fruits and vegetables. Although we know lycopene has many health boosting properties in areas such as cardiovascular health, prostate health, and male fertility, there is a challenge as dietary lycopene is poorly absorbed by the body. Sources such as tomato-based products, pizza and ketchup being two prime examples, contain high levels of sugar and other preservatives that might have a negative impact on the body. The same can be said of fresh tomatoes. They too have low levels of lycopene bioavailability. Cooking tomatoes in fats, such as olive oil, will improve its absorption. However, excessive daily consumption is still required. We know from early studies into LactoMato, you would have to consume 1 kilogram of cooked tomatoes daily to absorb the same levels of lycopene you get from one daily dose. As the body does not produce lycopene, it's essential to get it through diet and supplementation. So what is LactoMato? LactoMato is a patented formulation in which a tomato extract in only a resin format has been embedded in a whey protein mix. This process results in a reduction of lycopene crystal size, resulting in a better absorption and a higher level of bioavailability. This gives us a highly bioavailable lycopene complex. This lycopene complex has been proven to boost blood plasma lycopene levels, and Jessica will provide more insight into this data shortly. Not only is LactoMato highly available, it is also stable. Most lycopene extracts have stability data of 24 months. LactoMato has this over a 54-month period, meaning the complex has a shelf life of 4 years from production. This comes with the same caveats and exposure to oxygen, but we can offer handling guidelines to ensure you deliver a high quality product. In order to develop an effective lycopene complex, you need a world-class supply line. The tomato extract we have comes from Lyco Red, who I'm sure you're all aware of. Then the bioavailability pattern that revolves around taking this extract and making it more absorbable with the combination of whey protein. LactoMato itself is produced by Indena in Milan, Italy, a leading company in the botanical space. LactoMato was developed by Cambridge scientists. Initial research was conducted there too, with a 2014 study involving LactoMato and endothelial function being conducted at the University of Cambridge NHS Hospital Trust, also known as Addenbrooke's. This relationship with leading institutions has continued. Last year, there was a male fertility study published which took place at the University of Sheffield NHS Hospital. We often get asked why we should use LactoMato and not standard lycopene. This also normally leads on to people pointing out that the ingredient is more expensive. I'm very comfortable with that question. LactoMato is not a standard lycopene. It has research proving its efficacy, which has been conducted at world-renowned institutions and published in high-impact journals. LactoMato is not just another lycopene. It's a patented complex that is proven to work and deliver health benefits to people who use it. So yeah, I'll now hand over to Jessica, who I think will talk a bit more about the science behind the product.
Thank you, Chris. So as Chris mentioned, the bioavailability of lycopene is one of its main issues, and the specific formulation of LactoMato has been reduced or formulated in order to improve the bioavailability. This has been shown during this bioavailability study, done to compare the absorption and bioavailability of LactoMato in comparison to a tomato paste that is a golden standard for lycopene absorption. So this was a randomized parallel trial involving healthy volunteers that were asked to consume, as I said, the tomato paste as a positive control, LactoMato and a placebo for 8 weeks. As we can see here on the graph, we notice a significant improvement of bioavailability of LactoMato that was comparable to the tomato paste. So LactoMato induced a similar increase of plasma lycopene concentration in plasma of our volunteers. The study also compared different food sources compared to our LactoMato, just to see the difference between the lycopene in blood coming from different food sources. And we can say that lycopene coming from LactoMato is 240 times more bioavailable than lycopene coming from raw tomatoes, for example. We mentioned that also LactoMato has been studied for 2 main indications. The first one is related to cardiovascular health. 2 studies has been conducting for specifically for this indication. The first one is a pilot study, is an internal study looking at the lipid oxidation, specifically lipoprotein oxidation, that is one of the initial steps of atherosclerosis and cardiovascular disease. So this was an open label study conducted in order to understand and evaluate the antioxidant effect of LactoMato in cardiovascular disease patients. Selected with active lipid oxidation just to see and improve the quality of the study. So the patients were asked to consume LactoMato for up to 8 weeks, and 2 main parameters related to atherosclerosis were analyzed during the study: lipoprotein oxidation activity and total oxidized lipoprotein. As we can see here on the graph on the top one, supplementation with LactoMato significantly reduced the lipoprotein oxidation activity significantly at 2 weeks. Then this reduction remained reduced for all the duration of the study. If we look at the bottom graph, we can see again a significant reduction, in this case related to total oxidized lipoproteins, significant after 8 weeks. The second study that evaluates the beneficial effect of LactoMato in cardiovascular health evaluated specifically the endothelium function. This study is a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial that involved both patients and healthy volunteers that were asked to consume again LactoMato in comparison to a placebo for 8 weeks. This study, as I said, evaluated the endothelium function, specifically looking at the endothelium-dependent vasodilatation using a specific measurement, a technique that is a golden standard used to evaluate the health of the blood vessels. The study also evaluated the lycopene bioavailability and, of course, the safety of this ingredient in both groups of volunteers. If we see the first graph here on top, here we see the endothelial function of diseased people that was impaired at the beginning of the study, that was significantly improved by 53% after 8 weeks of supplementation with LactoMato. Here on the bottom, on the first graph, we see a comparison between the endothelial function of diseased people and healthy people. And when we compare the endothelial function at the end of the study, we can see a significant improvement. And the endothelial function of diseased people were restored after supplementation, reaching, let's say, a percentage or a quality of endothelial function that is similar to healthy people. LactoMato also was increased, or the level of lycopene coming from LactoMato increased in both groups, again demonstrating the high bioavailability of this ingredient. LactoMato was studied also in relationship to the male fertility, as Chris mentioned earlier. We know that in the US, 1 in 6 couples deal with infertility, and most of the time the emphasis is always on women, even though it's a shared issue. We know also that nearly 50% of men that deal with infertility have low quality, sperm quality. And we know also that lycopene has been shown before to have a beneficial effect on sperm health. Specifically related with LactoMato, we conducted a human clinical trial in 2019 involving 60 healthy male volunteers that were asked to consume LactoMato, and the semen quality was evaluated. So the volunteers were asked to consume 2 capsules of LactoMato for 12 weeks, and it has been noticed a significant improvement in semen quality, specifically in relationship to 2 parameters. One was the fast progressing sperm content that was improved by 40%, and also supplementation with LactoMato induced a significant increase in sperm with normal morphology. I wanted also to mention that this project and this study in particular was short selected for as a finalist at the Nutra Ingredients Awards in 2020, specifically in the category of nutrition research project. We know also that lycopene is beneficial for prostate health, and benign prostatic hyperplasia is a very common condition that is affecting most of the men over 50. Lycopene has been shown to have beneficial effect also for this condition, and can prevent or slow down the development of BPH. Here we are just highlighting a German study conducting with elderly men suffering from BPH who were asked to consume lycopene or a placebo for 6 months. And the lycopene supplementation significantly increased, reduced the PSA level, that is a parameter used to evaluate the prostate function. Lycopene also inhibited the progression of prostate enlargement, and in general, the symptoms related to BPH improved after lycopene supplementation. At Sibelius, at the moment, we are conducting a new sampling campaign. So it's a market survey. We are offering free samples of LactoMato to test for as 2-week supplementation for any man that is suffering this prostate health condition that wants to try our ingredient. We are happy to provide any more information or any more information. We are receiving fantastic feedback from our volunteers. Someone says that has noticed an improvement just after 48 hours of supplementation. So if you want to hear more about this, just keep in touch with us. In this slide, we are just showing the claims that we can use and make using LactoMato, because Sibelius LactoMato has undergone a third-party regulatory review for the structure function claims. This was based not only on, mainly on clinical research that has been conducting using specifically our ingredients, but also using a literature review of known biological effect of lycopene. And now I let Chris carry on to explain a little bit about the finished products that are made using our ingredients.
Cool, thank you, Jessica. So, yeah, just to go through, so LactoMato is available in 2 different formats. Firstly, there's a granulated powder, which we generally use in tablets, capsules, etc., which is your main normal supplementation route. We also have a microencapsulated version, which has been developed this year. So that's a non-oxidizable powder, which is microencapsulated using whey protein. So that also works very well, as the actual complex itself uses whey, so there's no change to the structure of the composition. That makes it ideal for delivery in formats such as food, sachets, and areas that may be sort of subject to oxygen exposure. You can see a few examples of products and brands on your screen that are used globally here. So there's the fertility box on the right-hand side, and that was actually the research we had on fertility was nominated for Research Project of the Year award at the Nutri-Ingredients Europe event earlier this year, so we were shortlisted there. And actually the Sibelius Essential Nutrition product in the middle has just been nominated for Botanical Product of the Year in the Asian version of the awards, which will take place in September. So we're also very excited about that. And then finally, really to summarize, it's just to go over some of the key points that are real takeaways from this presentation. So first of all, LactoMato is a patented natural lycopene complex. It's not a standard lycopene formulation, and comparing it with others isn't right. It's something that has its own credibility and delivers benefits on its own. It's clinically studied at leading research institutions and published in high impact journals. So I think I mentioned the University of Cambridge Hospital, the NHS Hospital in Sheffield being 2, and studies going into journals like the European Journal of Nutrition is very unheard of for nutraceutical ingredients. The benefits are clinically validated in both cardiovascular health and male fertility. The product itself has enhanced bioavailability and stability, so you get a good shelf life, which helps both with the ingredients and finished product. And then just going back to Jessica's point on the sampling campaign, if you're a man who does get up in the toilet to go to the toilet in the middle of the night, if you're a lady whose husband disturbs you when he does so, or you know anybody else who may benefit, then I would strongly recommend take a free trial pack, and you can see how efficacious the product can be in a short space of time. So that concludes the presentation. Thank you, everybody. If you have any questions, do please put them in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them for you.
Thank you, Jessica and Chris. That was a great overview of LactoMato. We do have a few questions here. If you open the chat, you're welcome to read them and answer them, or I can do that for you if you like.
No, I've got those open. Chris, do you want me to take them, Jessica, or do you want to?
It's fine, you can go ahead. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so I will just go down them in order so far as they're appearing, if you'd like. So, first of all, Jim, your question, which is the better source for lycopene, watermelon or tomatoes? Predominantly the answer is tomatoes, and that's where we extract our lycopene from. It does depend where tomatoes are grown and how they're grown as a process. So tomatoes that are developed in the sun in Mediterranean climates have a lot more lycopene in the skin than something that is grown in a greenhouse, for example, in cold and wet England. So the tomatoes we source are grown in Mediterranean climate and are rich in lycopene. So it's generally tomato, but it does depend a little bit on the variation. So I hope that answers that question for you, Jim. Down to Stu. So the question is, in the German study, were the subjects given 2 capsules per day for the whole study, or 2 a day for 5 days and 1 a day for the balance, as per the instructions on your box? So, Jessica, do you want to answer that, or again, do you want me to pick that?
So yes, this study, as I said, was done evaluating the effect of 2 capsules of LactoMato, and the effect has been shown due to the supplementation of this amount, let's say, this concentration.
Okay, cool. So thank you, Stu. And then Jim, so yeah, and of course, are samples available for evaluations and for beverage development? So yeah, I think yeah, Jessica, you have samples that are available. I know I was talking to Peter previously, who there's a number packed, and that is for both the standard format and the microencapsulated version. So I think, Jim, if you wanted to get in touch with Chris or whoever at Barrington, then you'd be able to get guidance on which sample would be best. And yeah, someone will be able to make sure, yeah, that gets into your hands, yeah, to progress.
Yeah, certainly. We have sample boxes of the finished product, the tablet, like we saw in the presentation, but we can also get you samples of the ingredient powder as well for your research and development. I've got a question, Chris and Jessica, and just from a sales perspective, this is, I think, an important one that we hear, and that is that, you know, it is I guess you could say an expensive product, right? We don't really like to talk about that, but it is. It is an expensive product when you compare it to, you know, your more conventional forms of lycopene. And one thing that I've heard is, you know, people say, well, how about, you know, instead of buying LactoMato, what if I just double up on conventional lycopene and call it a day? And, you know, I think that kind of misses the whole point to this product. And I was wondering if you could expand upon that a bit more.
Yeah, Chris, yeah, I can answer that. So yeah, I should probably use the word premium over expensive, but no, it is. We don't apologize in a way for the price of the product. It's developed as a complex that's efficacious. So you can, by all means, yes, somebody could take 2 or 3 tablets of a different lycopene product, but that doesn't mean they will get the same amounts of lycopene into their blood and get the same results. But ingredients can be absorbed into the body in a number of ways. And what we've shown with LactoMato is that actually by consuming the product, firstly, it increases the lycopene levels in blood plasma, and that has been shown in clinical studies. And secondly, that leads to an efficacious endpoint where it has an absolute benefit, be it for cardiovascular or for men's health. If it was as simple as simply just consuming more lycopene through a different product, then one would assume that there would be many more studies published by just taking 2 or 3 tablets of a different product that would lead to the same results, and we wouldn't have had to go through the patented process. And one good example is the fertility study that we touched upon that was published last year. Alan Pacey, who conducted a study at the University of Sheffield, is the UK's leading male fertility expert. We had no ties with him, and we didn't pay him to do the study. We supplied product when he came to us, but he had the option to assess all forms of lycopene, which was his interest for the study. And it was because of the bioavailability, the data behind the product and previous studies that he chose that, and it was shown to be efficacious. In his opinion, he picked the lycopene that was most likely for him to succeed and didn't go with a much lower cost route of just doubling or trebling up on a different product. So I think when you get the buy-in of medical professionals like that, for me, it gives great confidence behind the product that it's not just us as salespeople talking about it. It's really recognised by the healthcare professionals globally.
Yes, we can't assume that every lycopene works in the same way, and we prove how it works in specific areas. So there are clinical studies showing that.
Yeah, thank you for that explanation. Yeah, I think that's a really important point. You know, if you want to formulate a product that is clinically proven to work for men's health, cardiovascular health, you know, it's not as easy as just doubling or tripling up on your conventional lycopene. You know, it makes much more sense, as it did to that the doctor you referenced in the UK, Chris. Appreciate that answer. You know, I had also one other question. I noticed that you had some products that you were showing, some finished products that are on the market already. You know, where in the world is this product being used, and how are they using it?
So we actually have, for all three of the applications, we have products in varying countries. So our first ever international spread was into Australia and New Zealand. They now have, and they've had in the market for many years, products for cardiovascular, prostate, and now male fertility. There's a new product. You saw the Sibelius product, which is up for the award, which is being distributed to Australia and Southeast Asia. Sort of moving around the globe a little bit, in Sri Lanka is one of our highest output markets. The product is used for cardiovascular health and is recommended by doctors. As a result, we are hugely successful in Sri Lanka. It's a low wealth country with a relatively small population compared to other markets. But because doctors use the data, again, this goes back to my point of credibility, that they recommend and will prescribe the product there. So we see great sales. And on the back of that, we are just in the process of sort of launching into India as well at the same time. We also have different distribution partners in Europe. For example, we've just signed up with a company across Poland, Slovakia, and the Czech Republic. Even in the middle of COVID lockdown, people are expanding their range. We sold products historically into Brazil and Canada too. So we have a footprint that spreads all over the world. And finally, we're launching on the boat at the moment is fertility product going into South Africa. So we cover all continents. Actually, strategically, we held back on the US a bit to get all the fertility data because we know what an important market that is. But now we're fully in a position to service that and hopefully add that to our repertoire.
Thank you. Well, it's interesting to hear about the success you're having worldwide. So I'm assuming there's really no regulatory hurdles to incorporating this product into global formulations?
No. So obviously every market has its own sort of, little things that each regulatory body has differently. But no, it's been a very simple process. We're registered with the TGA, we're registered with Health Canada, who are potentially two of the toughest for nutraceutical products to get in. We sailed through them pretty straightforward. We have a full data suite of documents. I'm sure that you guys have already seen for use of ingredients in the US. So we're fully stacked there and able to offer assistance and support as needed.
It's great to hear. It's great to hear. Well, thank you, Chris and Jessica, again for joining us today. And I just want to remind everyone to please feel free to visit the BarringtonNutritionals.com website and go to our hub section. And we actually have a video posted on there of a webinar that Sibelius gave on their Sibelius Sage for cognition. Excellent product for a cognition formula. So be sure to go check that out. And we appreciate everyone for joining us. And I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure.
Thanks all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.